Here we go. Man, the French are getting tossed around in Niger, Africa. Okay, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about how the French are literally being escorted out of Niger, Africa, the French ambassador, after the president of France said, "You don't have any power over us. You don't have any jurisdiction. We do not acknowledge you." The junta says, "Oh, really? Get the heck out of our country." And so things are ramping up, and the issue is for the French is that if they start to get violent and if they start to be the kid who hides behind the people who are going to back them up, ECOWAS, we're going to start to see an all-out war, which is really dumb and non-diplomatic. So let's go ahead. I have a few videos, articles. We'll get into this. And some other breaking news. Another country in Africa is also falling apart, named Gabon, a former French colony. Okay, so right off the bat, again, if you're watching this live and you're tuning into this video, at the time of making this video, this is rather breaking news. So we're not getting a ton out of this. Let me make myself smaller here. Niger junta orders the police to expel the French ambassador. Expel! Niger's ruling junta has ordered police to expel France's ambassador, a move marking a further downturn in relations. And one that authorities in Paris said the army officers who seized power in Niamey last month had no authority to make. So the French are out here saying, you don't have any authority, like I had said before. Well, they said, you know what? We actually do. The coup leaders are following the strategy of juntas in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso and distancing themselves from the region's former colonial power. Again, U.S. military, United States, nah, nothing on them. We want the French out of here. But we do have a clip for you guys so we can sort of see what's going on. And this will give us a little more context. And again, I am not surprised that this is happening to France. I mean, this is like happening in every former colonial territory. And these guys are just fed up with it.
Niger's military leaders have informed the French government that diplomatic immunity has been removed from French ambassador to Niger, Sylvain Ité, and they've instructed authorities to proceed with eviction. France has said they don't have the authority. The military leaders who removed Niger's president from power on July the 26th told the French ambassador last week that he had 48 hours to leave.
Yeah, and the French, when they were told, hey, you have to leave, they just said, no, we're not going to leave. You don't have authority. And so I'm just going to be honest with you, I feel bad for that French ambassador who's just left out there. Like, yeah, you'll be fine. You're not leaving. Bro, these guys don't care. They'll rip you right out of that house, dude. They'll take you right out of there, and that's what they're doing.
After he refused to meet with the junta-appointed foreign minister. Let's go straight now to our correspondent in Paris, Natasha Butler. And Natasha, in quite extraordinary news, perhaps not unexpected given the recent events, but have we heard anything from France?
Come on, France. Again, just so you guys know, at the time of making this video, this is sort of breaking news, so I don't know if we're going to get a ton out of this, but I do speculate that if the French want, they could start to bring in some of their own troops because they got to defend their ambassador. So that's why this is a little bit of a tricky situation.
Yes, the French Foreign Ministry have reacted. They have told us that they have seen this request from Niger's military leaders. They acknowledge it, but they say that those military leaders have no legitimacy, no right to make such a request because Paris does not recognize them as legitimate rulers in Niger. Now, ever since July.
And the thing is this, it's like saying, hopefully you can say this word on YouTube. It's like saying, well, we don't recognize the Taliban as the new leaders in Afghanistan. The United States can say that all day. And look, I was a former U.S. soldier, and it even hurts me to say this, but they're in charge right now. So we can say all day, we don't recognize them. Somebody gave me a $2 donation. I just have to react to this. Hey, Mom, look, I'm on live. T-SPLY. Yes, you are. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the $2 donation. Appreciate that. And again, I do post these videos so you can go back and watch this. But again, France can sit here and say all day, we don't recognize the junta in Niger. We don't recognize them. Well, you're going to recognize them now with them sending the police over to kick you guys out of the country. And again, same goes for Afghanistan. We might not recognize the Taliban, but guess what? That's who's running it. And somebody made a good point. This is just like Vietnam. It is.
France has repeatedly condemned the coup d'etat in Niger. It has repeatedly asked the military leaders to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum. There is no doubt, though, that this latest escalation, this latest event, this request from the military leaders is going to be an additional cause of concern for France, for Paris.
Big time, big concern. But again, the issue here is that France highly backs ECOWAS. They work with ECOWAS, and ECOWAS does work with the French. A lot of these countries in ECOWAS, predominant language, French. Former colonial ties.
For the French government, who have said over the last few days.
Somebody donated another $2. I'm just here to throw you off. Thank you for the $2 donation, and thank you for throwing me off again while I do this live, even though you know I have a stuttering problem. Thank you.
That their ambassador Sylvain Ité will remain in Niger. It is going to be a worry for them, and the French Foreign Ministry have told us that they are looking again and reviewing their security operations and the situation around the embassy in Niger.
Somebody made a good point in the comments. Don't hurt the French ambassador, just kick him out of the country, leave him at the border. I agree with that. The thing is this, when the French keep saying, first off, the French are in support of a military intervention. I'm going to throw that out there. If you go back and look at the French history, they're totally in support of that. I'm not trying to have a U.S. bias here. When you look at what the United States said, they're like, no intervention, peace, we want peace. We don't want any of this. And the French are like, yeah, you better stop it or the military intervention's coming. So that's the difference here. And also consider this, a lot of the overthrowing of the country, a lot of it had to do with accusing the French of destroying the country to begin with. So there's always been this dislike for the French.
Okay, Natasha Butler, thanks very much for bringing us the view there from Paris. Let's talk now to our correspondent, Ahmed Idris. He joins us on the phone from Niamey in the capital of Niger. Now,
what I'm concerned about and what I want to know is, again, as somebody made a good point, if they attack the embassy, will that trigger Article 5? Will that trigger, like, we have to now go to action, we have to defend the French could come in? I don't know what it will trigger, because that's going to be entirely up to the French if they want to make this transitional period peaceful.
You are actually at the French embassy at the moment.
Here we go.
Struggling to actually connect to a live.
We're going to get our answer.
There's quite a lot of police there at the moment. Tell us what the situation is.
About a dozen military and police vehicles are now in front of the French embassy, and we see constantly security forces, most especially soldiers, patrolling the streets around the embassy and the residence of the ambassador, the French ambassador here. So it's still a tense situation. I spoke to one military personnel, and I asked him.
Yeah, that's the French embassy. When you got a hole in your window and the front door is burnt, not a good look, people. If your embassy looks like that, I don't think your country, the country that you're in, really supports you. And again, consider about a month ago at the time of making this video, they already had rioted the embassy. So that's why I was really surprised that the French were all in on sticking in that country. We're not leaving. Like, all right. I mean, yeah, you got burn marks on your wall, bro. I don't think they like you, man.
What the situation is like, he said they're just waiting for orders to execute. They know.
Somebody clarified the Article 5 thing. Article 5 only triggers if the home soil of a nation is attacked. And embassies don't count. Okay, and a lot of countries consider embassies like a sovereign territory. So thank you for clearing that up.
And probably could be to cut off any communications on any link with the embassy or the residence. So they're just waiting for orders. So right now, that shows that nothing has been decided yet as to the eviction of the French ambassador from the residence and the embassy. But right now, what we see is a tense situation. When we passed here a day or two back,
somebody said I'm getting Benghazi flashbacks. Yes, this does remind me of Benghazi, where the ambassador was literally like left to sit there. But understand this. The ambassador apparently wanted to stay here, and he's like, whatever, we'll be fine. Again, that leads me to believe that the French might know something we don't know. I'm speculating here. Again, disclaimer, this is me speculating. In my opinion, I think the French know that if there is a violent turnover of this ambassador, ECOWAS will do something about it. Maybe some sort of military intervention, maybe a one-off strike, who knows? But it is odd to me that if your embassy looks like this and you're totally comfortable with leaving your ambassador there, that is wild. Like, I'll give it to the French, man. The French are known historically to be like, we're out of here, but looks like they're here to stay.
The presence of security forces wasn't as much as it is today, so probably we may see some action very soon.
Okay, just remind us why the Ambassador Ite, had fallen foul of the military rulers.
Yeah, and another good question. I love to, when you guys are doing this live, it helps with the video. I wonder why the U.S. just doesn't send in F-22 Raptors. The United States is in Niger, Africa to fight a mission against militant groups. France has been here since the beginning of the 1900s. The United States, officially, unofficially, has been there after 2001, 2002 maybe. It's not really clear. It's hard to find history on the United States and Niger because it's all been black ops. It's all been special operations, setting up UAVs to fight these militant groups. France is there for a lot of other reasons, another one being uranium deposits, but that's another video for another time.
Well, to start with, it's a long process. To start with, I think the final straw was when the Ministry for Foreign Affairs here in Niger invited him to a meeting, and he failed to turn up, and simply because France doesn't recognize the authority of the military junta here.
Okay, so we're just going to keep getting circular arguments and circular reasoning here. At the end of the day, the French do not recognize the junta of Niger. The issue is the junta of Niger, whether or not you want to recognize them, they have a lot of power and authority right now. So in my humble opinion, and maybe I could be wrong if you guys want to leave a comment, I think France is waiting out and hopefully there will be a military action because, dude, they're literally being kicked out. Your embassy's on fire. There's holes in your windows. Like, how do you repair that relationship? They don't want you guys there. ECOWAS is saying, figure it out. But ECOWAS is not going to hate on the French. They're all friends with the French. The United States, for sure, they got to figure it out themselves, too. I am on record saying that the United States is going to be picking the French and helping them out. In many ways, I still think they are, but in this situation, I think the United States is totally okay with waiting in the corner and just hoping nothing happens. We have our own billions of dollars worth of assets to worry about. We have our own drones and personnel. No one's talking about us. We'll just sit here and hang out. It is very difficult for me to find an article on Niger, Africa hating on the United States. You hear that Niger, Africa doesn't like the West and you have Russian influence of the West, but the implication is typically on the French, not so much the United States. So, okay. Yeah, somebody said, funny how Niger Special Forces that was trained by the USSF now is our enemy. That is the risk, and I'm going to end with this. That is the risk of special forces. United States sends your special forces, Navy SEALs, whoever, to train militant groups in hopes if something like this happens, you will still work for the United States. That is one of the biggest reasons why we were able to get into Afghanistan so fast is because the CIA and other elements had friends in the provinces out there who withheld relationships from the Mujahideen times. And so in this case, it backfired, yes. But again, it also didn't backfire because no one's really kicking out the United States. So, yeah. And again, I will be probably talking about another country called Gabon, Africa. That's also being cooed up right now, a former French colony. I'll be talking about that later at some point. But I'll be covering this. I'm sure we'll get some more news down the line, but I'm going to be posting this video. If you're watching this live, it's easier for me to read your comments and opinions. When I post a video, go comment on the posted video. It helps out a lot. It helps boost the channel, and it's free. Somebody gave me another $2 donation. Bye. Also, I will never stop throwing you off. Thank you for throwing me off. Again, you know I stutter, and you always throw me off. So, again, I'm going to post this video. Thank you guys for being here. Go comment over there, and it helps boost the channel and boost the conversation. Thank you guys for being here. French getting kicked out, son. Not good. See ya.